Esther's Reboot Challenge, Day 49, page 217. Ultimately, you are the one to make and build the insight that makes you understand the world and moves you. Insight doesn't happen unless you follow a diligent method. Insight is not a spiritual language, but a physical language. You can tell yourself, I want to become a decent person, or I want to be a very awakened person. But that doesn't accomplish anything, even if you repeat it 100 times. Insight grows as much as you physically confront, struggle, and battle with issues whenever they arise. I advise you to read newspapers, trend reports, and books, but don't mistake them for mental labor. I've stood and read newspapers for 2 hours every morning. I've read thousands of papers of reports every night while fighting sleepiness, and I've read hundreds of books. All of this has been purely physically labor. All the pieces of information that I acquired can pass through my mind and ferment to become fit for my use only through physical labor. Do you want to overcome the anxiety that you feel because of the mistakes that you made in the past and the fear that you have of the new unknown future? Then what you need is to immediately start building a habit that helps you grow your insight. Studying is not something you do when you are young and have a ton of extra time. The studying you do when life is hard and you are desperate can truly become the driving force of your life. The first week or so will be difficult, but just keep going. And after about a year, you will find a new you who has extraordinary insight. Part 5. Philosophy of Coexistence. You humans will save the future. Coronavirus will be over someday, and we'll survive. I hope that when it happens, our children will think of consideration and trust, not distrust. I hope they will choose courage instead of hatred. To make this happen, we grown-ups must support and encourage one another. I hope that even in times of disaster such as coronavirus, we will be able to reach out, comfort one another, and say, it must be harder on you than on me. The survivor of relationship and the survivor of trust are just as important as the survivor of our lives. Chapter 16. Climate Change. The last golden hour available to us. I'm not an ecology activist, a nature conservation expert, or an animal lover. I am just one of the ordinary people who feels guilty when I put out too much food waste or recyclables on garbage pickup day and who try to redeem my guilt by using eco-friendly dish soap. That's how I used to be, but now I have changed. I bring reusable bags, which I have never done before. When I go grocery shopping, and I choose eco-friendly products, even though they are on the pricey side. Out of concern over plastic bottle waste issues, I gave up my habit of drinking bottled water, and now I carry a tumbler with me in my bag. I choose to walk when I go places if they are not too far, and I listed my car on the used car market because now that I don't have a speaking schedule, I don't need a car. Every time I meet someday, I tend to have a hatred debate over the seriousness of climate change and environmental problems in general. If you ask me what's up with all these sudden changes, I will tell you it was because of COVID-19. It pained me to think that I could not go back to the daily routines I had in the past, when I could go places freely and didn't have to wear a mask to meet somebody, all because of COVID-19. The more I dug deeper into the cause of the pandemic, the more it was difficult to shake off the thought that the virus was nature's warning to us humans. Is this the only crisis that we'll have to deal with? Isn't it possible that this crisis is only a prelude to a much bigger disaster? Will we be able to pull through if a crisis more dangerous than the virus strikes? On day in March, when the coronavirus was in full swing, I discovered a movie that described our current situation. The 2011 film Contagion could have been made today. There were uncanny parallels between the film and the current pandemic situation, including the fact that genetic disease started in bats in Malaysia. In the movie, the first confirmed case is traced to a restaurant in Hong Kong, where a pig that had eaten the mature of bats was cooked and served. Before long, a staggered number of confirmed cases were reported along the flow of the virus carriers traffic in airports, buses, hotels, and houses before the virus spread around the world in a flash.